Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I am your host, Captain B-Nard, and topic of discussion today is going to be the Battle Hub Draft League Season 7. So this is going to be your standard overview and draft analysis video. As you guys probably all know at this point, since I am a little late on the ball on this one, I am back one more time here for Battle Hub Draft League as sort of a final send-off to Scarlet and Violet. This will probably be some of the last content that I produce on Scarlet and Violet as well. Probably the last draft league that I participate in on Scarlet and Violet. As you guys all know, the game is well over 3 years old at this point, and I've been winding down for quite some time. I've been talking about it quite a bit. And with the new stuff on the horizon, I know Legends ZA was released not all that long ago. I probably won't end up playing that game as it is kind of a spin-off, but um, Pokemon Champions is a game that is supposed to be coming out early next year that is supposed to be centered around competitive battling, so we'll probably get into that once it releases. So for that and a bunch of other reasons as well, which I'll get into a bit later, decided, of course, to come back one final time here, not only as a participant, but still a commissioner here in the BHDL. So, really excited to be back for this. And for the first time in a while, Battle Hub Draft League is hosting a more or less standard draft board here. I know the past couple of seasons we've had some more out of the box rules. We've had an Ubers season, which I did not participate in, and then a low tier season, which I did participate in and did not go very well for me, unfortunately. And so this season, we're kind of back to normal for the most part. So, I'm excited to be back and excited to get into this draft. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rules of this draft. So, pretty standard to what we've come to expect here in the BHDL. We are going to, have the standard snake-style draft here. Every coach gets 115 points this season to draft a roster of between 10 and 11 Pokemon, and of course, that's all pretty standard. Although the one difference this time, I would say, is surrounding terrestrialization. So in this season, every Pokemon has a Terra price associated with it. So there is a standard price that you can pay for a Pokemon and a Terra price. So you have to pay the price of whichever you want to use the Pokemon as when you draft it. So if you want to use a Pokemon as a Terra Captain, you've got to pay the higher price for it to use it as a Terra Captain, and that comes out of your 115 point budget to do so. So other than that, all pretty standard stuff. I believe the next one, kind of details that a little bit more. You can get anywhere from 2 to 3 Terra Captains, and their point value can total 30 or less. So, a lot of different ways you could take this, obviously. We'll get into the way that I did it in just a moment here. But as I said, you have to pay the higher price if you want your Pokemon to be a Terra Captain. So that is all pretty standard, pretty straightforward, nothing too confusing about that, of course. But then we are going to get into something that is a little bit of a bigger difference here, and that is the Terra mechanic itself this season, which for those of you who played in season 5, I think they did it this way, but I did not because I wasn't there. They're doing something that's called Terra Preview, I think, which is you can actually choose any Terra type you want on your Pokemon. However, immediately before the battle begins, you must tell your opponent what Terra type your Terra Captains are going into the battle. So, I am not a big fan of this system by any stretch of the imagination. I know I've talked about it a little bit before, but this is one rule that I'm really not a fan of at all. And reason being is because I think that a lot of thought and effort goes into planning what Terra type you want to make your Terra captains in a draft league situation. And so if you are disclosing what Terra type your Pokemon is before the battle begins, that's really letting the cat out of the bag. It's kind of almost defeating the point of Terra, because if your opponent knows exactly what Terra you are, it really lets the steam out of the bag, and it just kind of just I don't know. It really kind of is counterintuitive to the Terra. It kind of lets your opponent know what you're planning before you even do it. So it's kind of like telling your opponent what moves are on your Pokemon before you use them, so there's not really an element of surprise, which is kind of one of the premier features of Terra. So, as I've said before, and I'll say again, I'm really not at all a fan of this system. However, this is the system that is in place this season, and so we just kind of have to roll with it. I've never really played under this rule before, so I'm curious to see how I can adapt to it, because obviously it will be a pretty big change for me. We've played with the three Terra Captain rule a lot here in the league, and then a long time ago we played with the Open Terra rule. But yeah, so I've never played with this rule personally myself. So I hope it's not all as bad as I think it's going to be. But I decided that I wanted to participate despite the fact that I'm not a fan of this rule. I wanted to participate this season anyway. So we'll just see how it works out. But that is probably the biggest change, for me anyway, going into this season. So, having said all of that, I think it's about time we take a look at the team here. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to your BHDL7 Philadelphia Pidgeys. And so here we go. Here is the team that I ended up putting together. And gotta say, I am pretty happy with the team I put together. There are a couple little things that I wish I could have done differently, but right off the cuff here, you will see a lot of familiar faces. Obviously, I try to bring back a lot of Pokemon each season that I either am comfortable with or have had success with, or both. And so this season was no exception, but I do have some brand new heavy hitters on deck here for the Pidgeys. Worth noting here that I actually ended up landing in the number 3 position on the draft board, which is just about as high as I've ever been. I can't remember if I was 3 or 4 in a different season, but position 3 is pretty much the best I've ever been in a draft. So I was really happy about being able to draft that early. That meant that I could draft a premier threat round 1 to my team. And so, as you guys see, this season I decided to go with something a little bit different than I normally do in the number 1 position. As you guys all know, usually I like my Unburdened Sweepers as my premier top Pokemon and the Pokemon to build the team around. But this time I wanted to do something a little bit different, and so I decided to go ahead and draft Spectrier in the number 1 position. So, Spectrier is a premier special attacking Pokemon, very fast, and as you guys know, a lot of times it is banned in Draft League, but what we decided to do for this season, and this also kind of ties into the reason that we have the Terra Preview mechanic here, is that we wanted to make the draft board as open as possible. So I don't want to say it's like a Ubers draft board, but it basically is. So there are a few Pokemon that are on the upper end of overpowered for one reason or another that we decided to uh, admit to the draft board this season, just because we wanted to make it the largest open draft board we possibly could, while still not making it actually like a full Ubers draft board, because then by virtue of power creep, there's a lot of lower level Pokemon that become useless. So this was the best compromise that we put together. And so yeah, since Spectrier was available, I am a big fan of Spectrier. I like the Pokemon a lot. I did use it back in Generation 8 in Sword and Shield when it debuted, and I haven't used it since then, but it's a Pokemon that I quite like. It is a little limited in what it can do. It's a kind of a one-trick pony, pun intended. But it's a Pokemon that I just really personally like a lot. I think it's a really cool Pokemon, and so I wanted to go ahead and build a draft league team around it. It's very powerful. So, like I said, very hard-hitting, fast special attacker. So, hope that it will serve me well as the top Pokemon on the team. So, moving down from that, I decided that my next pick, and again, there are pros and cons, I will say, to being high up on the draft order. So the pro is that you can pick a really premier threat to be your top Pokemon on the team. The con is that you kind of have to wait a long time until your next pick. So a lot of Pokemon got drafted in between picks 1 and 2, and then similarly, a lot of Pokemon will get drafted between picks 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. Because of the snake style draft. But I went ahead and for my second Pokemon, I wanted to pick a really bulky Pokemon that would pair very well defensively with Spectrier, because obviously Spectrier is a glass cannon. So I felt that I needed a really valuable, high point value support Pokemon for the Spectrier, and that's why I decided to grab Ting Lu. So um, Ting Lu is a Pokemon, as you guys know, debuted in Generation 9, Dark Ground typing. So that complements the Mono Ghost typing of Spectrier very well, or really any Dark type complements a Ghost type defensively. But I really thought that Ting Lu specifically would have a great role as a support Pokemon for Spectrier. It can do a lot of other stuff too. It is a premier hazard stacker, as you guys know. Hits actually deceptively hard on the physical side too, and it is just so bulky that it's got a lot of longevity on the field. So I felt that it would be a really good support Pokemon for Spectrier, so that's why I drafted it. It's a Pokemon that I do quite like actually as well. Of all of the Vessel of Ruin Pokemon, the Gen 4 legendary, or I should say, the 4 Gen 9 legendary quartet of Pokemon. It's probably my second favorite behind Chen Pao, which is obviously Ban, as you guys know. Uh, so I can't grab that. But yeah, I thought Tinglu would pair very well with Spectrier. So moving on from that, I decided to go ahead and I decided that I wanted to kind of rebuild my defensive core from seasons past that I've had. So you guys will know, you may remember those BHDL homers out there will remember that in season 3 and season 4 of the BHDL, I drafted basically the same team in both seasons, had very similar results with both. Um, and so there was a very crucial defensive core that was in that Pokemon of about three, or I should say, that was in that team of about three Pokemon. And so I wanted to try to rebuild that defensive core because I thought that if I could do that, that would further help support Spectrier in its role to try and get us some sweeps here, try to overpower the opponent's team. And so the first key piece of that defensive core was our beloved Scizor, of course, the Bug Steel dual type, all the way back from Gen 2. Another personal favorite of mine. Hits very hard on the physical side, great defensive typing. It's got priority, it's got pivot, it's got hazard removal, it's got knockoff. So it's a great Pokemon offensively and defensively. And so it's a Pokemon that I've leaned on quite a bit here in the BHDL as well. I think overall in Draft League, I've drafted Scizor. I want to say this is the fourth time that I've drafted it on a team. So um, I am very happy that I could snag this guy back as a premier steel type to help support the defensive core of the team. So going with that is our number 4 or round 4 pick here. As you guys all can see, and that of course is going to be another Pokemon I know very well in that defensive core. That is Rotom Wash form. So I really like the defensive pairing of Scizor and Rotom Wash. As you guys know, this is classic B-Nard as we come to see, and so yeah, they compensate for each other very well. They form a very strong Volt Turn core on the team. Rotom itself is a very bulky Pokemon. Hits pretty hard on the special side too. It's got pivoting. It's very few weaknesses, as you guys know. Of course, only one, and so yeah, I'm a big fan of Rotom Wash. I believe this is the fourth time I've drafted that thing as well onto my team. So again, just another key piece of the defensive core on a lot of these draft league teams that I have. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me to bring Rotom Wash back into the Pidgeys this season, as well as most of these Pokemon were not available on the draft board last season, with it being lower tier. So, after that, there was another no-brainer pick that I wanted to make for my round 5 pick, and I thought, there is one more piece of the vintage Captain B-Nard defensive core that we're missing here, and that is, of course, the captain itself, Terra Captain, our first Terra Captain on the team this season. That is going to be Gudra, of course, the Pokemon that was robbed and stolen and then buried from us last season that we could not get. We had a funeral for him and everything, but now he has risen from the dead, ladies and gentlemen, and he is back where he belongs in the Philadelphia Pidgeys for the 10th time, I want to say, in the Philadelphia Pidgeys organization history. 10 out of 11. We lost the streak, but we got Goodra back this season. Very bulky defensive Pokemon, particularly on the special side. Of course, the Mono Dragon type from Gen 6, and insane move pool as well. Hits pretty hard on the special side, but can also hit on the physical side as well, I will say. And as a Terra Captain, we've had great success with Goodra in the past, so I'm very happy that I could snag this thing back. I know I normally go for it earlier, but I kind of made a decision after losing Goodra last season. I kind of made a decision that going forward in Draft League, I was not going to prioritize getting it as early as I have in the past. And so the reason for that is because when I started doing draft leagues all those years ago, Goodra was definitely more of a premier Pokemon than it is now. It is still a great Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but power creep is certainly a thing. So with power creep, Goodra is not so much a round two pickup anymore as it used to be, as we've picked it round two every other time that we've had it. So I decided that round 5 is a little more appropriate for it moving forward if we happen to be able to bring it back. So very happy to have it back, of course. I think last season I tried to do what I could without it, but last season I think I've come to the realization that whether we bring it to a game or we don't bring it to a game, Goodra is our de facto mascot. It's our de facto team captain, even though we have our Pidgey as our mascot, of course, and we have me as the as the actual captain. Goodra is definitely holds a pivotal role in our draft league teams, and so definitely glad we could grab that back. So having said that, we are going to move to the second half of the draft, and another kind of realization that I had about myself as I did this draft and the draft moved forward is that I usually have a pretty solid plan for the first half of any draft team that I get, and then by the time we hit round 6, I'm kind of struggling for ideas. I'm struggling for a way to kind of complete the team off because I am very happy usually with my top row, and the bottom row I definitely struggle a little more with. So after Goodra, which again was really the third piece of the defensive core, the vintage B-Nard defensive core, I did have a lot of struggle trying to choose what I was going to use next on the team. And so the one thing I knew for sure is that I wanted a fast physical attacking Pokemon that could be a solid Terra Captain as well. So that's kind of the role I was looking to fill. And so ultimately, after a lot of flip-flopping and consternation, I ended up landing on Talonflame in this position. So, and as a Terra Captain, no less. So, Talonflame is a Pokemon that I've drafted once before. You're going to have to be a real B-Nard channel OG to remember me drafting Talonflame because I drafted it once before on the very first ever draft league team that I ever put together a long, long time ago. I want to say this was 2018. I don't know, somewhere around 2018, maybe 2019. I feel like it was 2018 that league ran from like end of 2018 to beginning of 2019. But bringing Talonflame back was a decision I thought long and hard about, but I thought, there are a lot of positives to Talonflame. So it is obviously a Fire Flying type from Generation 6, has great type coverage, has a pretty solid move pool to it, very, very fast as well, hits decently hard on the physical side. I know it will get a lot of crap for its attack stat not being very high, which fair enough. However, the type coverage that this Pokemon has behind that attack stat is amazing. The stab types on this thing are amazing offensively. And in addition to that, we also have some nice utility. It can pivot, it can hazard remove. So it is a pretty solid Pokemon. I am interested to see what I can make it do because, like I said, I haven't drafted it in a very, very long time. But I drafted it because I wanted to bring it back and I wanted to see what I could make it do. So, speaking of Pokemon that I wanted to see what they could do or that I've drafted, before, that's going to bring us to our next pickup. And so, one Pokemon that I usually end up falling back on drafting as a pretty solid fairy type for the team, and this time was no exception, is of course, Alolan Ninetales. So, our Ice Fairy type from Generation 7, of course. This is a Pokemon that is a premier support Pokemon for pretty much any team. So, it's fast, hits decently hard on the special side. It's got some nice handy utility moves, such as, of course, the Aurora Veil. So it's one of only two Pokemon that you can Snow Warning into Aurora Veil, which is obviously an amazing thing to have going for you. So I'm really happy about having that on deck. I usually like having a weather setter on my team just in case I run into weather-based strategies on opponents' draft league teams, although I don't think there really are any this season. But that is something that I usually try to have on every one of my draft league teams just in case, like an emergency, like, oh, my opponent's got sun or they've got sand or they've got rain or something like that. So I can quick erase that with a ability-based weather setter. So that is pretty handy as well for Ninetales to have. And then obviously the Aurora Veil is a premier thing that it can do. So I want to say this is as well the fourth time that we've drafted our Alolan Ninetales back to our team. So again, it's a Pokemon that's no stranger to the Philadelphia Pidgeys, of course. And glad that I could snag it back, especially round 7 on the draft, getting into the later rounds on the draft. But speaking of that, at this point in the draft, something else that I usually have, as I kind of alluded to before on each one of my teams, is a terrain unburdened combination. And so we were getting late in the draft, and there weren't a ton of points left available to do anything with. So I decided I'll be honest with you guys. I was really, really prepared to not have a terrain unburden on this team. I was. And so, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I think it would be handy, even if it's not like a tier one unburden sweeper. I think it would still be handy to have a terrain unburden combo on this team because it's another mode, as they say, that the team can shift into. It's another strategy the team can lean into to make it a little more unpredictable. So that's kind of the thing that I wanted to do heading into the last few rounds of the draft is I wanted to give the team something else to make it a little more unpredictable. So as you can see, what I settled on was in round 8 drafting Indeedee Male. So this is, of course, the normal psychic type from Generation 8. Obviously, premier thing it can do is set the psychic terrain on the battlefield, so that can be useful as far as denying priority moves, but of course, setting up unburdened sweeps is a premier thing that it can do as well. And another thing I will say about Indeedee Male is that it does hit deceptively hard on the special side. It is not quite as paper thin as some other special attacking Pokemon. It's got not the best defenses, but it's got a little bit of bulk behind it, but it really does hit pretty hard on the special side. So bringing it on kind of checked a lot of boxes for me. It started to help to iron out some type imbalances that I had on the team, and then of course add that extra dimension of strategy to the team as well. And so, of course, pairing with Indeedee Male, we're going to have to go ahead and in round 9 draft an Unburdened Sweeper, right? And so, after some flip flopping, I decided that my Unburdened Sweeper this season was going to be another Pidgey's favorite. That is going to be Hitmonlee. So, Hitmonlee is another Pokemon that I've drafted before. I know with the Indeedee, I've only drafted it once before. The Hitmonlee, I believe, again, this is probably the fourth time that I've drafted Hitmonlee, perhaps. And so it is a pretty solid Pokemon all around. It's a great spinner as well. It's got nice utility with knockoff. Hits very hard on the physical side. And of course, as we all know, we have that unburden sweeping potential on the Hitmonlee, so that is pretty nice. It's got more ways to get into the unburden than just relying on the terrain as well, which is a nice feature that some other unburden sweepers don't have going for them. So yeah, I am happy to snag this guy back in a late round like this. Like I said, I not only wanted to have that mode of that unburden sweeper as well, but I wanted to have some more physical firepower on the team. I wanted to have some more utility options with like knockoff and rapid spin, that kind of thing. So Hitmonlee seemed like a good addition. I'm happy to have it back, and yeah, I'm excited to give it a shot like I am with everything else. And so for the 10th and final round here in the draft, I know we had the option of getting 11 Pokemon, but I decided typically I don't go for the bigger rosters. I try to get of, maybe one less Pokemon, but consolidate those points into something a little better. And so the final Pokemon that I decided to pick up for the draft here in Season 7 was the standard Cantonian form Muck. So Muck is another Pokemon that I like quite a lot. This is actually the first time that I've drafted it to a team, similarly with the Tinglu and the Spectrier. So, Muck is a Pokemon that I've thought about drafting for a very long time, but I never really got the opportunity to draft it until now. So, it is a really solid Pokemon, actually. Premier, I should say, for the lower tier, lower point values anyway, pretty solid special wall. Hits pretty hard on the physical side as well. Has a very solid move pool as a mono poison type. It's got some good type charts available. Helped me fix couple of type imbalances perhaps on the team, that the mono fighting type Hitmonlee perhaps created a couple of type imbalances for us that we ironed out with the Muck. So that was a pretty solid one for me. And yeah, there's a lot of utility options on Muck as well. It's got priority, it's got knockoff, it's got some hazard setting as well. So it's definitely a solid Pokemon, and something that I'm happy to give a shot to here in Draft League. So and that kind of rounded the team off. So overall thoughts on this team, I will say. Um, I think one of the biggest things I like about this team is the type chart on this team. So this is an incredibly balanced type chart team. I don't believe I'm upside down on any singular weakness at all. So, and I know that's normally the case for me. I try to type balance my teams as much as possible. Type chart is something that is very important to me in Draft League, and so I am very happy about how type balanced this team is. Another thing that I'm happy about with this team is just the layout as far as the Pokemon are concerned. So again, most of the Pokemon are Pokemon that I've drafted before multiple times, very familiar with, very comfortable with. I don't know if that's going to lead to great success or not, but I do know that comfortability is an advantage in Draft League if you are comfortable with the Pokemon that you're using. So that's a big thing as well. Um, I am I am happy with the firepower on this team, I will say as well. So there's a lot of special firepower on this team. I think there is a lot of physical firepower on this team. I know we've done our power rankings video, and there's been discussion, of course, on the Discord server and everything. One thing that I think some people do think that this team is lacking is a little bit of physical firepower. I don't know that that's the case, though, because I do think there are some respectable physical attackers on this team as well. You've got the Scizor, you've got the Hitmonlee, you've got the Tinglu. Even Muck has a respectable physical attack. So I don't know that I'm really concerned with that, although that is a criticism I have heard. The one personal criticism I do have of this team is that I do wish I had a little more utility on this team. So that what I mean by that is we don't have a ton of hazard setters on this team. We don't have a ton of pivot Pokemon on this team. I think we have really solid priority. I think we have really solid speed. I think we have solid modes of strategy on the team. Um, but yeah, I don't think we have a ton of. We have a ton of hazard removal too. Actually, we do have that going for us as well. The only thing that I think we could use a little bit more of is utility as far as hazard setting and pivoting, and those are important things in Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, and so that is something that I wish I could have perhaps put together a little bit more solidly on this team, but the card it was just not in the cards in the original draft. So there are definitely room for transactions to be made if I do deem it appropriate. That's for sure. Um, and so I'm not going to rule out that possibility as well that we may do something like that. At some point in the season, but at this point in time, we are not going with that. It's kind of a classic conundrum that you go through in draft leagues, I think. So it's what I like to refer to as the one spinner conundrum. So for a lot of draft league teams, you will notice if you watched either the power rankings video or pay attention, to the drafts, you will see a lot of times people only draft like one Pokemon that does one thing, but it does that thing really well, right? So it's like if you draft only one Pokemon that's a hazard remover or a rapid spinner, it's like if that Pokemon is one of, if not the best at what it does, is that okay, or should you have more options available? And so for my team here, you could say the same thing as far as the hazard game on this team is there definitely could be more hazard setters. However, the hazard setter that we do have is one of the premier hazard setters in the game. So it's like, is that enough or should we have more? And so my argument is typically speaking, you should have more than that. You should have more options than just the one. And so, like I said, that may be something that I change going forward. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of ride it out and see how it goes. Um, but yeah, other than that, I don't really have too many criticisms of this team. Something that I said on the power rankings video that we did a little bit ago here for this season anyway is that this team, for all of its pros, for all of its cons, is B-Nard. And so that might seem like a simple statement, but it is a very true statement, and you can think deeper about it. And I think the more deeply you think about that statement, the more you would find it to be true. And that's kind of the boat that I've been in as well. Is I think that for all the pros and all the cons of this team just is me. This is what I do in Draft League. This is what I build. There are differences here or there. Obviously, some of the Pokemon change and some of the strategies change, but at the end of the day, this is like the B-Nard special here. This is what I'm familiar with. This is what I'm comfortable with, and so I think that's why, despite the little nits to pick that I have with my own team, I am happy that this is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm happy with what I have. So. Yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The BHDL7 Philadelphia Pidgeys starting lineup. So, having said all of that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our seasonal schedule for Season 7 here. And so, as you guys can see here, it's a 9-week regular season, as you probably saw in the rules before. Um, our first opponent here in Week 1, which will be coming up very shortly, is Chris, also known as PokemasterArrow88 from the Discord server. Go ahead and join the Discord server. It's the best place to go for Pokemon Scholar and Vilo Wi-Fi battles right now. In my humble opinion, there is a link in the description down below. Well, had to do it. Had to do it. Inside jokes. But yeah, that is our Week 1 opponent, and then that is a guy, obviously Pokemaster88, that you guys know. We are very familiar with. We've battled him many times here on the channel. I want to say we've battled him, I want to say, about 7 times on the channel here. I don't know. Some of them were draft leagues, some of them were free battles. But we have indeed had many battles with him, so he's a very tough opponent, and he's only gotten better over the years, so that is going to be a tough one. I think pretty much all of these are going to be tough ones, obviously. That's the one thing about Battle Hub Draft League that you guys know is everyone just continues to level their game up, of course, so there's no such thing as an easy week here. And really, that is the case, obviously, as our Week 2 opponent is going to be Raymond, of course, the former 2-time champion here in BHDL, a guy who many consider to be one of, if not the best player BHDL has ever seen, so that is going to be another uphill battle for us. We've got Arcaniner, Week 3, another guy who we've played countless times here on Scarlet and Violet. Well, I guess I could count them. We've probably played him about 3 times. Ray, I want to say we've battled about 5. So definitely coaches we're quite familiar with. That is going to continue into Week 4, of course, where we face Scorpion, another player we've played, I believe, 4 times here on Scarlet and Violet. Another really solid player, of course, another former 2-time champion, owner of the BHDL. So definitely going to be another uphill battle on that one. And then in Week 5, actually, we have our first newcomer to the BHDL this season. We're going to be facing Twisted Games. Don't really know too much about him as a player, but seems like a solid guy. Cool person, of course, and so interested to see how that goes. I do think he does have some draft experience behind him as well. So that'll be an interesting one. And then, of course, week 6, we have DRV, the artist formerly known as DRVR. And yeah, another guy I don't believe we've played before. I can't remember if we played him last season or not. Don't we might have actually played him last season. This last season was a rough patch for us for a lot of reasons. So I don't quite remember. The more I think about it, the more I think we did in fact play him last season. I want to say we played him last season. If I can pull my records up real fast to confirm that, I think we did. But anyway, so another solid player. Looking forward to playing him. And then, of course, we've got after that Cody, another individual. I believe we played him once last season as well. Another solid player. Did very well last season. And continues to level up his game as well. So that is going to be another fight. Week 8, we've got Brandon P., our fellow commissioner here in the Battle Hub Draft League, and another very much tried and true draft leaguer. Some might say the draft league whore, as it were. Don't think he would disagree with that statement. But yeah, we're going to be taking him on in week 8. Another individual who we have not had the greatest amount of luck or success with in the BHDL, but we'll see what we can do. And then, of course, week 9, we are going to have another newcomer to BHDL. That is going to be Zach Mander. Again, a player that I don't really know too much about, but an individual who I perceive to be a pretty cool dude, and I believe he does have a lot of Pokemon experience as well. So that is going to be our lineup here for our opponents in Season 7 here in BHDL. So definitely a solid group of participants, a solid group of players, and I think that we are definitely going to have, again, as I always say, it is going to be a rough ride for us here in the season. A lot of tough opponents on that schedule, so we'll see what we can do with it. Hopefully we can do better than we did last season, obviously. And so if we end up doing well enough, hopefully we will make it back to the playoffs. So a couple of closing thoughts here. So I will say I'm looking forward to this season. I know I pretty much always say that because it is always the case, but I am very much looking forward to this season here in Battle Hub Draft League. As I mentioned, this will probably not only be my last draft league here on Generation 9 and Scarlet and Violet, but it will probably be some of the last content that I produce here on Scarlet and Violet as well. So I'm really hoping to make it far in this league this season. You guys know how I feel about draft leagues. Every time I enter a draft league, at bare minimum, I want to make it to playoffs. Like that is my floor. That is my minimum accomplishment that I want out of any draft league season. I know last season things definitely didn't go my way, so I'm definitely looking to gain some redemption for the Philadelphia Pidgeys. As you can see, we got the old logo back and locked and loaded and ready to go. I did like the other one, but I just decided at the end of the day I wanted to take it back to the classic logo for this season. But yeah, I am looking forward to it, and I think hopefully I will have a little more time. I know time constraint was a big problem for me last season, so I look to, I think, have a little more time this season to prepare for my games, and I hope that that will make a difference. And yeah, I think I definitely have some more determination behind me as well this season to make the Pidgeys fly again. So yeah, having said all that, I think that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. Also, stay tuned for our Week 1 game here in Season 7 of the Battle Hub Draft League. That should be coming your guys' way sooner rather than later. So stay tuned for all that. That's it, and to a good season here. Fly, Pidgeys, fly, and we'll see you next time.